Hello, what's up, everybody? We are live. TJ Kelly coming at you with Jack O'Donohue. Jack, how you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, TJ. What's going on, man?
I'm excited to be hopping on a live video with you today. We are here to talk about using the audio format, audio medium in marketing, right?
But we're breaking those rules and showing our faces as well. So
irony. So, all right, as we've done with a couple other videos, I know I have in the past. I think I've seen you do this too. I'm going to take a minute here to share this live video out to a couple different places. Try to get a few folks hop on the video and watch.
Yep.
So if you want to do the same thing, we can take a second. So I'm going to do that now. I know I'm going to put it into a couple of my groups. I assume you're going to do the same, right?
I'm going to do that. I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to figure it out.
Hit the old share button there, right?
So is it showing that I'm live, like if I go to my own page?
You go to my page.
Go to your page, okay.
Yep.
On Facebook.
Exactly.
And I'm going to see that you're
now,
live.
where are you? Where are you standing right now? This is not your office, not what I expected.
This is live video. Okay, so I do see it. This is pretty cool. So I just clicked it. Now I can see myself.
There you go.
And I can share it to a group, like you said, right? Share it to.
I have heard that people that are like actually good at this will.
So I'm excited about it. Definitely.
So a little bit of background. Jack and I are both sharing this out with our respective, audiences and networks. So we'll have to introduce ourselves for both sets of audiences here. And I am almost done with that myself. So there it is.
Who did you put it out to, TJ? Should I put my personal thing, you think, or you're the pro here?
That's one of the ones that I did, yeah.
Okay, let me do the same thing then.
And this will be the last one for me anyway.
Share on my own timeline.
Exactly.
So we're live talking about audio, right?
That's it. So I'll go first with the introductions. My name is TJ Kelly. I run a small digital marketing agency based out of Massachusetts called Mixed Media. We specialize in digital marketing, full service. I happen to specialize in the organic side. Have some business partners and some team members to help with the paid side too. So we do the full service thing. Jack, as one of our old clients, as a matter of fact, and I'm grateful to the help that Jack helped me out with a year or two ago when we started our project together. So, Jack, why don't you introduce yourself to my audience that doesn't know you?
Awesome. So my name's Jack O'Donohue. I'm the managing partner and co-founder of Touchstone Closing. We're a real estate closing law firm in Boston and Andover. And pretty simple. We help people buy and sell houses in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. So pretty simple business to explain. But in that sense, we deal with the B2B side with mortgage professionals and other real estate professionals. And then we also deal with the consumer themselves. So we deal with everybody.
So I understand that Massachusetts has different requirements around title and closing and such than most other states. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. Yeah. So we're an attorney state. Last I checked, which it's been a while, but there's about 13 attorney states throughout the country where you have to be an attorney to provide closing services. It's that simple.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Very good. And you are an attorney, right? You went to law school yourself.
I am. Yeah. I don't like to advertise that, but yes, I am. Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
I've been an attorney now for about 8 years.
Okay.
So.
Very good. So you have recently gotten interested in the audio format, the audio medium for marketing. I know both of us are Anchor users. You've got a podcast that you've been promoting pretty hard lately. So talk to me about what you wanted to run down today. You sent me a list of questions. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah. That's good if you don't, because I do. So I do plan to use this on the podcast, the audio. I guess the idea, it's something like you had commented too, like, hey, we did this, or I started the group almost 4 years ago. And that's when I wanted to do a podcast and I didn't. And it was the same idea. It was the same group, social media for real estate professionals. At the time, I was going around to different real estate offices and mortgage offices and giving presentations on things, like really a very different set of things that we would talk about today, but some basic stuff. So it was always very well received. And I felt like people, I think I've sort of established myself as the social media guy, particularly in the real estate legal community and also the kind of greater Boston real estate community, I hope. I love talking about it. I love helping people do more business. And I know what you love to do as well. So I think that, that shines through, I think. I mean, I just had a meeting this morning and was talking with someone about it and just kind of spitballing ideas and, hey, what works, what doesn't work. And I think that's the big thing that I enjoy. And I think this podcast is just an extension of that. Love, and you and I had the first phone call on that Anchor platform, which is very cool. But I think as I've gone further into it, I've thought, how can I make it better? This I think makes it better. We're talking face to face, where we're going to be able to strip the audio down and put it online.
Right.
And, it's a lot of fun for me. I like preparing for it. I like lining up guests for it. I like sharing the feedback. And I think it's just great that people get to kind of learn from my own mistakes and our collective experiences. So it's very cool.
So now you're obviously a believer in the use and advantages of social media for both marketing, brand building, just kind of connecting with an audience. And using it in a business sort of way, but where, kind of an overlap between business and personal, right?
Yeah.
Establishing a real relationship with folks. So let's run down your list of questions. Where I'd like to start, if we might, is why audio specifically?
All right. So I've always loved audio. My first job out of school, this is on my personal page, so some people might see my first job out of school was at CBS Radio with the Rock of Boston, WBCN. Had a great experience there. Love radio, love the voice platform. And that's just changed so dramatically, in 13 years or however long it's been. It's still the same, right? It's that intimate experience of hearing someone's voice, and it's always been huge to me. I love music, as I've mentioned before. I just love anything audio related. I think it's great how you can kind of, particularly now, we can take it with us in our pockets. We can be driving and listening to our friends now. You can listen to TJ. I listen to you all the time. I drive in. Right now I'm in Boston, so I drive in here and I'm sitting in traffic for an hour. I listen to you. I listen to Zach Gould, who's a friend of mine who just started a podcast about being a dad and an entrepreneur. And I just think that's so cool. So, listen to him. I listen to other people we don't know, some people who are kind of big names in the industry for different reasons. And I use it. It really motivates me on a daily basis. And, it's better than listening to, and not a knock on it, but it's better than listening to like a sports talk radio or, just listening to music. I love music in a fun setting, but there's nothing better than kind of getting some education while you're on the road. And I used to, it got me, you talking about law school. It got me through law school, frankly. I had these audio, CDs, these old CDs that I would listen to. And it's always been the best way that I learned. So that's why I think it's so important to me. Yeah. Great question though.
Cool. So what did you want to run down today in your list of audio focused questions?
Sure thing. So I'll kind of take the lead here. I know you're hosting the live thing, but I'll kind of take the lead here for the podcast. And so I'll just say, hey, guys, welcome to the Social Media for Real Estate Professionals podcast. I am here with TJ Kelly. He's the founder of Mixed Media in Boston. Excuse me. And his big thing is he's helped real estate professionals, including my company, across the country with digital marketing efforts. So TJ, so great to have you on our show.
Thanks, Jack. It's odd to be introduced twice for the video and the audio, but it's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited about doing the thing and crossing over two formats here. So thanks for having me.
It's cool, man. And I think, like I said, I've known TJ pretty much my whole life, and we've been working together recently, and does exceptional work. And I'm thrilled to have you here. Yeah,
we go back to 1994 or something. I was trying to think back when it was that we first met, I think, on the baseball diamond as kids, something like that.
Baseball or soccer or something, right? So I have this theory that anybody you've known since they're that age, like you only want the best for them. It's kind of human nature, right? It's like, so anything we can do to help one another, I know we're both on the same page. So
well said. I appreciate that.
Just my first question, I know that we both kind of feel similar about it, about audio and about voice. So my first question is real simple. So could you just tell us about your experience with audio marketing and voice messaging and voice recognition over the last 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, there's a couple of fields in there, I think, but voice recognition. So for those that don't know, I focus mostly in organic search and organic social too, but voice recognition is overtaking the search market. Everybody in the SEO community is talking about how to use the Google Home and Amazon Echo and all these others to use voice search. It was Siri a couple years ago, and I forget the competitor Siri's name, but you get the idea, right? Using voice search is taking over.
Alexa.
So that has been on my radar for a while. What's that?
Alexa.
Well, yeah. There's another one that I think Microsoft has, Cortana maybe.
Okay.
But in any case, so voice search has taken over on my radar professionally. But then more than that, I think, and more kind of focused to what you're on, the podcast thing is back. right? It was just absolutely huge. Almost 10 years ago now, it kind of burst onto the scene, and I think it died off for a little while, and it's back in a big way. And as for why, I think it's to what you highlighted a minute ago, that it's portable and it's on demand, and it's better than what terrestrial radio and kind of the big media companies have been putting out, because it's so specialized, it's so niche, and you can pick exactly what you want and ignore the rest. It also has a better, I think, business model in that it's not inundated with ads all the time. So there's kind of two things in there. I like the podcast formula a lot. I do have one that I'm starting up. I know you have one that we're talking on now. So I'm way into the idea. I've been a guest on a couple others. I think it's a great avenue for people that want to get their message out and want to reach a new audience. I've been saying that for a little while. Every podcast you can go on to, every blog you can guest post for, everything that you can do to get your message out there is going to be good to build your brand. And podcasts are a great way to do that for all the reasons we just talked about, right? As for voice recognition and voice search, that is still almost uncharted territory in the SEO industry. There's a lot of experiments going on. Right now, we're basically trying to figure out how Google specifically is using voice searches as compared to how they use text-based search that we are familiar with. The rules are a little different. We know that there's about, I'm going to forget the numbers now, but there is a pretty significant overlap in what we know to be true for text search versus voice search, but it's not 100% overlap. There is, maybe 20, 30, 40% difference in results. When you run the exact same search in text basis versus a voice search, you'll get 20, 30, 40% difference in those search results. And we're just starting to try to figure out why that is with, researching and experiments and running a bunch of tests and profiling the results. So it's still new for us, and we're trying to learn as fast as possible,
Yeah, I mean, I think I bought 3 Alexas. As soon as I tried one, I bought 2 more, and I put them throughout my house, and they're cheap and they connect audio. So like I said, I love listening to music. And you can just say, Alexa, play whatever, Billy Joel. I don't know why I thought of Billy Joel, but think of anything you want to listen to. Just say, Alexa, play it. Or Alexa, what's the weather today? Alexa, from the commercial, give me my news briefing. And you'll hear, Reuters TV is what comes up through right now. So that's the thing that's fascinating. Or you could say, Alexa, buy me 6 bars of soap. And it'll say, based on your order history, you've purchased Irish Spring soap. Do you want to buy 6 bars for $4.99? And you say, yeah. And then it's at your doorstep 2 days later. I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, and I like to defer to my kids, and my kids, at least the older ones are 6 and 8. And, they're like, I don't like Siri. I like Alexa, because she responds quickly, and Siri is like, what did you say? It's kind of like they drop the ball, but with Alexa, it's like, she gets shit done. I mean, for lack of a better expression, she really does. So, and I'm calling her a she, which is a whole nother topic about AI. And, you think it's a person, but it's not. But, I'm fascinated as well with you and how we can use it as marketers and really be on the cutting edge of what's going to happen. I mean, we're both in kind of, this is the real estate sphere. So, what if we say, hey, Alexa, what are the open houses this weekend?
Exactly.
Holy shit.
I know. I'm hearing realtors talk about it regularly. Those that are trying to get, on the cutting edge of new, frontiers, I guess, of marketing and brand building. One of the Amazon skills or Alexa skills.
Yep.
Yeah. Is real estate. So you can go through the process and, build, I don't know what it would be called, but a profile basically, so that when somebody says, hey, Alexa, find me a real estate agent near me, or find me a real estate agent in Albuquerque, New Mexico, those who have gone through that process early are most likely to rise to the top of that based on, I suppose, order history, if you think of it that way, or reviews, whatever metrics Amazon is using to rank those. But it's a frontier right now, right? So the early adopters are scrambling to come out on top. I have not done that. The SEO industry went through the same thing a couple of years ago, maybe a year or two ago, when this skills first came out. I haven't done it. I'm kind of regretting not doing it, right? The early adopters got some success there, and I wasn't one of them. But it's still brand new for a lot of folks learning how to leverage all these things.
Yeah, well, that's how I feel with the podcast too, TJ. And I'm kind of kicking myself for not starting it a few years ago, but at the same time, I've met so many new people. I've kind of built up so many more relationships and just learned so much more. And so in a lot of ways, I figure, now's the time, and I'm thrilled to be doing it. I'm it's not a huge time commitment for me, obviously. I mean, I think people get kind of overwhelmed with that, and they think I don't have all this time for it. But we set up a call. We're talking now. We're going to have a little bit of debrief, to get it live and maybe a half hour's worth of work. What I'm figuring, I'd be fascinated to kind of hear your take on it maybe later in the show here is, the promotion aspect of it is really a challenge. I think, what's appropriate, how much time, what platforms, what's the best way to, and I think it's like anything, right? We'll figure out our systems that work best for us, for our audience, but what's the way to promote it? Like, how are we going to promote this? I think this is great. It's live. We've got some viewers. People are going to watch it as it's sitting there. We're going to be able to strip it down, put it online. A lot of people will hear this and see this in the near future. So, but what's going to become the best practice for that? There's something like, to your point earlier, there's something like 350 new podcasts every single day. So It's a hugely competitive environment. Neither of us are doing this to, sell ads on a podcast. I mean, that's like old school thinking, or like, huge success thinking, which is way far away. But I think, it's all about the mindset. And like, my thing is like one listener at a time. If I get people to listen or watch and get some value from it, and it makes their day better, or it sets them on a trajectory in a better direction, then I'm thrilled about that.
Yeah.
On that note, TJ, where do you really see podcasts, particularly with Anchor, or other applications that are similar to Anchor? Where do you see that going in the next couple of years?
Well, Anchor, I love it. If you're not familiar with Anchor, go check it out. It's anchor.fm. It's an app for your smartphone that allows you to record audio. And when they started, I got on there 2 years ago and checked it out and didn't really do much about it. But when I started checking it out around this time, it was because Gary Vee recommended it then. It was basically like Instagram or Twitter, but all audio. It was almost, you had this feed and you could go onto other people's feed and just send them short 1 or 2 minute long messages. It was almost like group voicemail. If voicemail had a social media, a network. It has grown beyond that. And the way you and I are both using it now is to basically as an on-ramp to hosting a podcast. And one of the things I love about it, it actually gave me the idea even to have my podcast at all, is that by default, when you record something on Anchor, you're limited to 5 minutes.
Yep.
And there are ways around that. Obviously, you and I on this one and a few others are longer than 5.
Now it's changed, though. Last week they changed it.
Is it it's not capped anymore? I have
not capped anymore. Yeah.
So based on that initial limitation that may have changed now, I decided to embrace that limitation and almost take what Twitter did for text, take what Anchor was doing for audio, and limit my episodes to be 5 minutes.
Yep.
So now in 5 minutes or less, you can listen to whatever the topic of the day is. I've done an audio one, I've done video, I've done in groups, I've done promotion. So I love that fact. I love that it is basically forcing some restrictions, and now maybe not forcing, but suggesting some restrictions onto the format that forces creativity.
Yeah.
Right? How creative did people get with Twitter back in the day? When the analogy I heard for that, and I think it applies to Anchor too, is that back in 2007, 2008, Twitter basically put a stick in a ball in a field and let the users invent baseball.
Yep.
Right? In this way, I think Anchor is doing something similar where they made it super simple to get started and have a couple of basic services provided for you, and they're letting their users invent the culture. And so as for where that's going to go in the next couple of years, I think it's going to absolutely explode when people realize how powerful audio can be. And I think part of that, and if there are audiophiles out there, maybe you're one of them, Jack, might get mad at me for this, and I apologize, but with the absolute domination that video is headed for, and it is, I think audio is going to ride its coattails a little bit, and people that either don't want to get on camera or can't get on camera for some reason are going to see audio as almost a second place. And so as video rises, audio will come with it. Audio absolutely has its own benefit and its own value too, but I think video's rise is going to help audio jump up, and Anchor is going to probably lead the way, at least from where I'm sitting. Yeah,
no, you're absolutely right. I think, it's interesting, right? So with video, you bring in things that make it a little more complicated than just audio, right? Audio, I've got my microphone down here so I can talk and it sounds a little better. With video, you're seeing my face, you're seeing the lighting, you're seeing your environment. You can do like fancy backdrops. You can do, like I said, like different lights to make you look differently. Whenever you're on camera, I think people tend to kind of tense up and get a little nervous. So
if we weren't doing a video now, I would be pacing.
Yeah.
When I'm on a call or when I record my podcast, I walk around.
Me too. Me too.
I can't be doing that, on a video like this. But
Yep. No, I'm the same way. I mean, I like to stand. I'm standing right now. So, I love this. That I love to stand and walk around and move and think, and the same way as you, TJ. It really helps me think a lot. So, I think like I said, there's just so many people that can start it, and I would just encourage people. We should really take a minute and talk about this. This is in our group and for real estate professionals. So, what can real estate professionals do to get creative here? Like, you're the creative guy. I try to be creative, but you're the guy. Like, what can they do? What can anybody do to differentiate themselves and host a podcast?
Yeah. Well, I think you already touched on the answer to that a minute ago, and you said one listener at a time.
Yeah.
For me, that's absolutely the answer. I checked out my stats, and I think, in the couple of weeks that I've had this podcast, I have something like 40 listens.
Yeah.
Just minimal numbers.
And I'm 25 of those, so that stinks.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
But I'm totally okay with that, right? Because I'm not trying to beat, Mark Maron and, Joe Rogan. Like, that's not what I want with my podcast.
Yeah.
What I want is to reach the right people at the right time with the right information. And I know that my audience is going to be pretty small, since I'm talking specifically to folks in the real estate industry who are interested in digital marketing. And on the podcast, it's specifically people who are interested in audio versions of digital marketing. So every level of that, disqualifies some people and makes your audience smaller. But in so doing, it takes their attention level up. You're talking directly to them, which is why I like that. So how can realtors use this? Maybe let's start with, should realtors use this? I think the answer is yes, if it's going to work for you. If you're the kind of person that likes podcasts, if you have the time, and of course, who actually does have the time, if you're willing to make the time, I guess, to make it part of your strategy, then yeah, it can really come back to you. But you've got to know how to position it and how to angle it. I don't think that it would make any sense. Well, maybe I'll qualify that. I think if I were a real estate agent, my podcast would be just about the general area.
Yeah,
right? I live in central Massachusetts,
yeah.
So I would have Central Mass Today or something like that as my podcast. And I see opportunity there to co-promote with your local tourism board, your local chamber of commerce. There's all kinds of other groups out there that would be supportive of learning that there's a new podcast that's sole purpose is to talk about that area. And yes, as the real estate agent, you would pepper in some real estate related things, give market updates once a week or something. But if it's just buy now, list with me, no one's going to listen to that. That's an infomercial. And who do you know that watches infomercials other than 3 a.m. on the couch? Like, nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
So if you're a real estate agent, yes, I think there's value in the strategy, but be smart about how you set it up and dedicate some time to it. Gary Vee just had a video last week or 2 weeks ago, at least that's when I saw it, who knows when he released it, that said people are calling him an overnight success, or have been calling him that, when he's got 12 years of trying to make this work and 12 years of trying stuff and producing content and getting his name and brand out there. And after 12 years, people call him an overnight success. It takes an incredible amount of time building up the background before you tip, right? That book, The Tipping Point, from Malcolm Gladwell, before you tip into real success. So yes, it's a good strategy. Yes, I recommend people do it. It's the same thing I say about Facebook groups, but give it time. Give it at least, a year before you expect to really see anything, really beneficial come back to you from it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, there was someone who was at the conference we were at, and they were a realtor, and they shared that they were in a small town of 15, 20,000 people. They started a podcast and they built it up to 7,000 or 8,000 listens per episode,
That's awesome.
And as a result, right, guess what her business has done?
Yeah.
It's gone through the roof, and she's in a little shitty small town somewhere. And, and that's the point that I take from that is she had the courage. She did it. It's helped her business. You give it a shot. I mean, talk about it.
Your mileage may vary, but that stat is crazy. 50% of the town.
No,
her podcast. That's crazy.
And that's what she was speaking about. She was just like, look, I've got everyone in town listening to this thing. They want to hear, they want to be on it, or they want to hear what's going on. And she's obviously kind of underselling what she's been able to do. But those things, as those groups, right? Those Facebook groups and things like that, they have a tendency to kind of go a little viral. So, if you're hitting the right people, then you've got that possibility. You and I do with this. It's the same idea. It's not why we're doing it, but there's a chance that your viewership skyrockets. And what I've noticed also about the podcast medium is that people come back to it. Over time, the episodes that are earlier get more and more views. Just like you and I have probably done that with other podcasts, where you listen and then you'll just listen to the one before, and the one before, and the one before, and then before you know, you've listened to all of them, and you're waiting for the new one. Like, when's the new one? You know, that's what I'm seeing. Man, I think that it's too easy. I think what Anchor does is it eliminates that friction. You pick up your phone, you can hold it to your mouth, your face or whatever. You just say that. Literally, you pick it up and you start recording. So start recording. You post it to iTunes. Doesn't have to be fancy, and gets the job done. And I think that's something I spoke about briefly the other night too. Is just do it. I mean, don't make it harder than it has to be. You know,
There's no longer a technical or a equipment or a logistical barrier in your way.
Or cost.
At this point, the only thing in your way is you.
Yep.
Right? Which is not nothing, right? That is hard for a lot of people to get over. It was for me for a long time until I just threw caution to the wind, and maybe that has something to do with age or at least trying it out enough times. I don't know. But, so I recognize some people out there that I just feel timid about it. I get it. I have been that guy, and I can't help with that part. But I can tell you that that's probably the only thing left for you. That is the only mountain left to climb. Otherwise, the technology, the equipment, the logistics, the publication, the promotion, all of it is just done for you in such a simple way. It's awesome. In fact, it makes it so easy.
And it's free. That's the thing. I mean, you're not paying, years ago when I wanted to do this, you had to get all this equipment. I was going to have to go to a class. I was going to have to watch something online, pay $3,000. And I'm like, I just don't want to do that and then have it fall on its face or me get overly obsessed with it. But now it's just totally free. So, have the idea, execute. That's what I try to say all the time. Switching gears a little bit.
Wait, Jack, before we do that, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're getting some comments down here. So my good friend Rick Gonzalez down in Destin, Florida, is asking if Anchor is similar to Voxer. Rick, it's similar in a way in that you can basically just hit the button and start talking. Voxer, I would call it like a narrow cast. You're sending it out to a very specific list of people that are already in your contact list. Anchor is broadcast. Anchor is more like Facebook or something, Twitter, where you're just going to put it out there for the world. And, and anybody that stumbles upon your station, your radio station, as it were, can find it. And of course, you can share links to it on any promotion, any format, any network that you already have. So the difference is about who you get to share it with. I don't know if Voxer has a share it out to the world version. Maybe they do, and I haven't seen it yet. But the other comment on here is from a girl, Courtney. She says, "How much prep time are you spending before your webinar and time after promoting?" Good question, Courtney. Jack and I got on here maybe 45 minutes or so beforehand just to work out the technical problems. Turns out we didn't solve them. We had to make a game time adjustments while we were after 1 p.m. But we, Jack, you must have done some of your own preparation because you sent me a list of questions. You clearly have done your homework. So I'll let you take that from the research side.
Sure. So Courtney, what I and everybody else listening. So what I did is there was a podcast years ago on one of my favorite podcasts, social media. Oh my God, Social Media Examiner, that one. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of it, but so I had a kind of list of questions that I took and, or a structure, a framework rather. So to your point earlier about how you kind of dig deep with, this is Social Media for Real Estate Professionals podcast. This particular show is about audio, right? So we're further limiting our audience. But I like that because I like having a theme for a show. And then I try to be prepared by having 5 to 7 questions about, what we can talk about and just kind of a structure and a framework. And I found that by following that structure, people will take a glance at the questions. I don't get the sense that people are kind of hem and haw over the answers. They just kind of look at it, get an idea for what we're going to talk about. But that might take me 15 minutes max. I don't spend a ton of time on it. I kind of just go with what I think people want to hear about. And within that same structure, I also make it clear to the guest, if people are unfamiliar with the podcast, which a lot of people are at this point, I'll say, look, and I'll read right now because I'm looking at it, our target audience, national real estate professionals. I say we make the assumption they're not beginners with social media. They're realtors, loan originators, financial advisors, attorneys, and CPAs. The other part of her question about after is something that I'm struggling with. And you probably
want me to talk about that one?
Yeah, I mean, go right ahead. Field it.
So I don't purport to be an expert at this. I'm definitely learning, but I can talk about what I've tried and what I have seen some success with. And Courtney, thank you for the question. For those who don't know, if you're listening to Jack's podcast or you're seeing this on one of Jack's groups, Courtney and I are business partners in our own, not quite a podcast, but our own Facebook Live series. So she and I are fighting this very same battle in a slightly different medium. And one of the things we're doing is downloading the video that has been posted to our Facebook Live. You can actually download the file once it's done and upload it to YouTube or promote it somewhere else if you want to, embed it on your website. The same thing is true of Anchor. You could, if you wanted to, download the audio file and put it somewhere else. Given that it is a podcast, you don't really have to do that because it's already promoting it out for you to iTunes and to wherever else. But the example that comes to mind of like SoundCloud and some of these other more popular places with podcasts and with audio specifically, and I know Anchor does this, I love to take my Anchor podcast episodes and convert them into a video and then upload that onto YouTube. I haven't yet started pushing that on Facebook very hard, but I probably should and I probably will. So if you're starting an audio, you can convert that to video. Now, it's not enough just to take audio. You've got to have some visual element to it, right? Yeah. And Anchor identifies that, and they help you with it. They will automatically create text, transcripts of everything in your video, and you can watch the words scrolling on the screen as you're listening to the audio. It's not perfect what speech recognition software is, but it's close enough. And people that are watching the videos are going to recognize that there's some inaccuracies and cut you a break. No one's really going to care. As for how to leverage that, you can put it on YouTube, you can put it on Facebook, you can put it everywhere. But what to do about that? For me, that's back to old school digital marketing and kind of online promotion and finding an audience first. In my case, that's Facebook groups of real estate agents and of people like yourself, Jack, that are already hanging out online talking about this. Well, go into these groups and form a relationship and build a rapport with these folks. Don't go in there and treat them like you're just going to hit them with a megaphone and blast your message everywhere because they'll boot you out and nothing flat. Yeah. But if you actually, make a connection with some of these people, then you can go directly to them or you can go directly to the group. And like you said, one listener at a time, right? One Facebook group, one social community at a time for promotion. It takes some time. It takes some hard work. It's kind of difficult to achieve, but I think it's really effective. And it so far has shown me the best return on trying to promote, all this material we've done. So Courtney, thank you for the question. Jack, do you have anything to add on top of that?
Yeah, I'll just say, the thing I've tried, and I wouldn't say it's been successful, but I've tried to share it on my Instagram story, which I think I've talked a lot about. There's a lot of attention on there. And I think there's just, unfortunately, I don't have 10,000 followers, which please help me with that if you're listening at Jack O'Donoghue. I'm trying to get to 10,000 so you can do the swipe up. There's so much friction where if I post a picture in my story and I say, a screenshot of TJ and I say, hey, we had a podcast today, go to my profile, click the link, download. It's like too many things to do. So I don't think it really works. I think it just, I wish it worked. And if you can swipe up, if you're lucky enough, maybe some people listening can, if you can swipe up, it's a home run because swiping right up, you're downloading it or you're at the link for the site.
I think that's the 10,000 minimum, right? That's the threshold. You need 10,000 followers before you get that swipe up feature.
Yep. And you also need to be a business account.
Okay.
So I recently, it's a little off topic, but I recently switched my personal account to a business account. We'll have to talk about that another time. But, I think for that purpose, because I would like to have the swipe up at some point.
I went the other way. I started a second one. I still have a private personal one. It's 100% pictures of my kids. That's all I have on there. And because I don't want to be sharing that with the whole business community, I started the second one, which you can see. How do I do that? Right there. There we go.
There we go. Get next one. I love it. Yeah. Very cool. So next question. I don't think we'll spend too much time on this, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say. And we've kind of already touched on it. Where do you see voice activated marketing, Alexa skills, smart home tech, all that stuff? Where do you see it going and where do you see it contributing to the success of podcasts?
Where do I see it going? Nowhere but up, honestly. Yep. I don't exactly know what that'll look like, but I know in the last probably 6 months or so, I have personally started doing the whole all right, dictate a text message, dictate an email, dictate a whatever, and let Siri transcribe it for me because it's so much faster than typing it out.
Yeah.
And I think that everything that becomes voice activated, voice controlled, and is good, right? It can't suck and get everything wrong or it's not going to work. But if they can achieve, whoever's the technology behind it, then it lowers the barrier to achieving your objective. It makes you get it done faster, which is always going to be attractive to people. I remember that when Facebook first allowed you to do statuses by voice, and it was when Siri kind of came out, everyone was updating just to try it, just to try the voice activation. And most people kind of went back to text, I think, but that will probably start to take over more and more. And as for how that relates to podcasts, I think more people, the more you use audio every day and the more you use your voice to get your point across every day, the easier it is to wrap your mind around publishing that.
Yeah.
Right. I think if you think back 10, 12 something years ago when blogs were kind of taking over the internet, people said, well, I'm not a good writer. I don't want to have a blog, or like, I don't really have anything to say. Why should I have a blog? And that thought almost doesn't even enter into people's mind anymore. It's just like, yeah, I know that I need that. I don't really have the time for one. There are still objections, but I don't feel comfortable doing it is no longer one of the objections most of the time anyway. And I think that would still be true and will become more and more true with audio and with podcast. I want to throw a little sidebar here that, like, credit to Apple for inventing the word podcast, which basically just defines an entire category of publication. They might as well own the word television. You know what I mean? So I want to put one little, asterisk on that to say I don't only mean iTunes when I say podcast. I'm sure you don't either. That's a distribution channel, and it's a good one. It's a big one. But for me, it's about publishing audio content. That's what I mean when I say podcast.
Yep. Yeah, I think what I've recently done, somewhat in preparation for this discussion, is just to kind of back up a little bit, right? So of the people who have downloaded and listened to the Social Media for Real Estate Professionals podcast, about 90% of those downloads are on an iOS device on podcast, to your point. The rest of them are on Anchor or on the web or on another device. So what I looked into was, and I also tested it with my Alexa at home. I said, Alexa, play the Social Media for Real Estate Professionals podcast. And she couldn't. I'm sorry, I can't find that thing. I'm like, damn it, I'm not quite there yet. So then I did a little research and found out that there's a website. I think it's called tunein.com. So I went to TuneIn, and you can sign up as a creator. And so I signed up as a creator on there. I think it takes a couple days, and you have to publish your feed to you publish what your feed is already, and it'll add you to the TuneIn network, and that's where Amazon picks up that type of stuff. So
really? Okay.
Yeah. Since you just published it on here, I'll just make sure it's tunein.com.
Let's hope I didn't get that wrong.
It is. It's tunein.com. So, there's a way, if you look on there, you can figure out how to sign up and distribute it to those people. So that was my little step towards the future that I took to try to distribute the podcast. I'm already creating the content, right? So we're talking about distribution. Which is a whole nother thing, right? Distribution is what Courtney's question was about.
Right.
How do you distribute this? How do you get people to know about it? And I ultimately come back to, do I even care? I mean, I'm trying to get it to people that want to see it, and that's it. I'm not trying to put ads out there or, trying to, do anything crazy with it. I just want to make sure people know that it's there. And if they want to listen to it, great. And if they don't, whatever, I hope they find value. And I think people have, which has been so encouraging for me. I think people listening to this will find value in it, and it will improve them and their business, particularly if you listen consistently through all the different themes that we have.
So, Jack, what is your Anchor username or URL or whatever?
It's just Jack OD. It's Anchor FM/Jack OD, I think is what it is. And I think the biggest, switching gears just a little bit, I think Anchor has been awesome. I think it's and I know it's funny, you get on there and you see other people that are on there, and it is a small community, but it's growing dramatically by the day. And it's a great way, like any social platform too, to kind of meet new people and listen to new things. And I've got a few, handful of people on there that are big Anchor users, early adopters. And I don't know them from anybody else, but they're listening and they're commenting, or they're doing the applause, and they're excited about it. So I think, it's a great way to kind of meet some new people who are interested. And the same thing for us. We can listen to other shows that you might not listen to on any other platform. I think in closing, TJ, I think we've kind of already touched on it, but I'd like to get really simple for people that might be overwhelmed. Like, what is some really simple advice for people who might want to start using podcasts or other voice-related marketing? Like, what's like the bare bones basics that you would tell people to do?
I would say step number one is to start listening to others. Find some podcasts that are in your industry or kind of similar, maybe, that you can draw inspiration from. I know in real estate, some of my favorites would be my buddy Neil Mathweg and his Onion Juice podcast. He is actually the one that got me interested in specializing in digital marketing for real estate. You and I both know our mutual friend Ryan is a real estate agent here in Massachusetts with us. I was doing some work for him, and in researching how to promote him, I found Neil and the Onion Juice. And that led into the Snap Pack, where they talked all about Snapchat and how to use that for marketing, which is kind of a whole other can of worms.
Yeah.
And it kind of opened up this whole world for me. So if you haven't heard the Onion Juice yet, go check them out. They're awesome. Easy Agent Pro is a service provider, but they have a podcast called In the Lead. A lot of great information there. So I would find some podcasts that you can draw inspiration from. One of the other big ones for me is outside the realm of marketing entirely, but it's called Radiolab. It's really popular. A lot of people know Radiolab. It's done by WNYC and NPR. And what I like best about Radiolab is their editing. They like a good edit, as they like to say. But they also are incredible storytellers. And I think that is a really, really, really important part of marketing in general, but especially in an audio format. It's so easy to just put on the headphones and hit play and listen for 10 seconds and go, and hit the skip button. So you've got to be able to draw people in using a great, compelling story. I mean, it's the same formula you would use in content marketing or anything else, but audio is a different challenge. So find some inspiration. That would be step number one for me. And then after that, I say pull the trigger. Just get started. Gary Vee says this. They all say it. I know even Tony Robbins says it. Your first couple are going to suck. Your first couple of months are going to suck. Your first couple, whatever. It takes a while before you hit your stride. That's even true of network sitcom television shows. The season one is never the best season of a show, with very few exceptions anyway.
That would be a good podcast.
Yeah, so let that be true. Like, talk about whatever you want and get used to stumbling over your words and not knowing how to edit and stuff. And eventually you'll get better and better and better. But the key is to start. The key is to try it and see what works for you. At least for me.
No, that's great. I mean, I think I'll be a little vulnerable here. I'll read through all the ones that I subscribe to and listen to consistently. The Zach Gould, so I mentioned Monday Morning Podcast with Bill Burr. He's hysterical. Yeah. Then the MFCEO Project. That guy's crazy. Andy Frisell, but he is, if you want like a kick in the ass, he's the guy to listen to. Okay. The Gary Vee audio experience I listen to. One of my favorites that I look forward to, and I've listened to almost all of them, is How I Built This with Guy Raz by NPR. Have you ever heard that?
No.
It's all different industries. Today, I think it was a replay, but it was of the guy that started 1-800-GOT-JUNK. So it's, he's had Southwest Airlines, he's had WeWork, the guys who started WeWork, he's had a whole number of them, and it's just great entrepreneurial stories. I've got, I listen to PTI when I can't see it. It's one of my favorite channels. Tribe of Mentors, Planet Money, a lot of the TED Talk stuff. Another favorite is Masters of Scale with Reid Hoffman. Okay. So he's the co-founder of LinkedIn. Really smart guy. And their ads, if you listen to their ads, they're probably the best ads at any platform anywhere. It's unbelievable.
Really? Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Well, he does it like a story. I'm here with the CEO of Zoom or whatever. It's one of the guys, and he's like, we're talking about, and they'll just tell stories, but it's very clear that it's an ad, and he's clear that it's an ad, but just really incorporates it in a really smart way. Social Media Marketing Podcast, which I mentioned, Tony Robbins, and also Tim Ferriss. I love Tim Ferriss. He's so long form though. It's like if you got a long drive or something like that, you got 2 hours. How long are his episodes? They're usually at 90 minutes at the minimum. Oh, wow. An hour to 2 hours pretty consistently, but he's got some pretty special guests, and he's a really smart guy. I mean, if you're not familiar with Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Work Week, 4-Hour Body, 4-Hour Chef, and a whole lot of other stuff. And he's really committed a lot of time to the podcast, and it's great stuff. I'll just leave it like that.
He's got one of the most popular ones, I think, in the world, right? I think it's like him, Joe Rogan, and Mark Maron have like the top 3 if I had
to. Yeah. Rogan, I've never really got into him for whatever reason. I just don't, I never have, but I know he does a terrific job with it. So just in closing, TJ, here for the podcast, where can we learn more about you and your team?
I am everywhere, or at least I try to be. I heard Gary Vee talking about something like this, and I'm going to get his words wrong, but where he says like social is it. Social is the only thing that matters if you're Gary Vee anyway, and if you're in his school of thought. For a long time, I was big into search because the intent is there, and it's my first love, as it were. But the more I listen to people like Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, all these others, the more it becomes clear to me that social is going to be the difference maker. That fast forward, 10 something years from now, and Google's not going to go anywhere, but it's going to look pretty different. But it's going to be more social. Social is growing, so get on the board, right? Get on the boat. So for me, I'm trying to get more into social media, where most people are trying to like take control of their lives back and get their time back during the day and scale back their use of social media. I'm trying to do it more. And if you know me from the past, as you do, Jack, you know me for a little while, you probably see that in my Facebook activity going up. So where can people find me? My name is TJ Kelly. My company's name is Mixed Media, MXT Media. Our website is Get Mixed, GETMXT, or you could just Google TJ Kelly Mixed Media. That's what I do for a living, so I know you can find me in Google. I'm on Twitter all the time. I'm on Facebook all the time. I'm on LinkedIn a lot, Instagram, Snapchat, maybe sort of sometimes, but kind of not really. And, of course, my podcast. It's called The 5 Minute Podcast. With TJ Kelly, I think is the official title, and you can find that on iTunes. You can find it basically anywhere. I don't know what the other ones are, but I know Anchor pushes it out to all of them for me, so you can definitely find me in all those places. But TJ Kelly Mixed Media, and I would love to connect with anybody who's listening to the podcast in any of these groups or wherever. Would love to get in touch.
Awesome. TJ, thank you very much for your time today. I think we should maybe hang around on here on the live thing for a little bit, but we'll shut down the audio here. Thanks everyone for listening to the Social Media for Real Estate Professionals podcast. It's been great talking with TJ Kelly about audio and voice, and I look forward to talking to him again in the near future, and we'll see if our predictions are right.
Yeah. All right, Jack. Thanks a lot.
Very cool. So that's great. We'll cut that out for the podcast. I mean, did we get any other kind of questions or thoughts on here? It looks like we've had some listeners and people on from time to time here.
So. That's some great works and stuff. Thank you, Courtney. Rick, I don't know if you're calling me the Godfather, if you're calling Jack the Godfather. I can't really tell. Or if you and then Rick says he is, checking out the Anchor stuff. So I'm getting like phone calls and everything.
Yeah,
my wife's calling me. It's like a real business day here. So I can't stick around too much longer, Jack.
No, this is cool. Yeah, you got it.
Preschool, so. Real life is calling,
You got it. We will, we'll wrap it up. My big thing I wanted to ask you quick is, we've been having a lot of discussions. We get like, this was great. This was long form. Should we be trying to push out an hour, half hour a day? I mean, it's just keep pumping it out there, right?
Yeah. For me, I'm trying to get it once a week. If I can hit that stride, at least that's regular enough and I can try to grow from there. But even once a week has been tough. It's not part of my regular work day yet. So.
Yeah. All right. I love it, man. Thank you, TJ, for the time. I appreciate it, dude.
Thanks, Jack. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Guys. Take care.